Hello and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. I'm Steve Ryder and I'm joined this week by Tom Bull. We'll be looking back at a week dominated by the O'Briens, a quick look ahead to the impact that these will have on both the Oaks and the Derby markets. And then we'll be joined later by Ed Quigley to look ahead to York and the Lockinge card at Newbury. But thanks, Tom, for coming along to join me. A brilliant week last week. And as a self-proclaimed now flat fan, this must be one of your most looking forward to weeks of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I should probably keep that hidden under a bushel a little bit because I do a podcast called The Jump Show, and I think people on that will be pretty unhappy to hear that. But I am sort of leaning that way these days. I think it's just because every week you have really good racing, don't you? There's almost a festival pretty much every week these days. And we had Chester. It's arguably my favourite time of the year with Derby and Oaks coming up because you've got Royal Ascot on the horizon. You've got all these big Group 1s for the older horses coming up as well. We'll talk about the Lockinge later on. So there's a little bit of everything, and it's all about what might happen. And I think Chester did sort of stir the coals a bit, stoke the coals, if you will, as it always does, for all that Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien didn't have a lot to beat in those trials. It was still nice to see that the good horses do what they do.
Yeah, and it's just trying to establish a pecking order, isn't it, and seeing who's the most dominant performance on the track. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who Ryan Moore is going to want to ride in those races. It
is, and I think the Aidan O'Brien Media Day, which happened as we were recording yesterday, was fascinating. It usually is. How much you can read into it at this stage, I don't know, because he'll have to have a long chat with the lads, as he always does. It does look as though, at the moment, Constitution River might go to France and Benvenuto and Pierre Bernard will go to Epsom, but I wouldn't be surprised if that changes.
No. We will touch on more of this shortly in Racing Recap. So before we get into the Derby and Oaks chat, I want to touch on the older horses to start, Tom. Chester Cup, A Piece of Heaven, beat Maxi King by half a length for Joseph O'Brien and Dylan Brown McMonagle. A race that was dominated by those towards the front of the field, but I thought it was a really good training performance for a horse who clearly hasn't been the easiest to keep well.
Really good training performance, really good ride, and for someone who barely rides Chester, Dylan Brown McMonagle, he is going to be top 5 in the world pretty soon, I would imagine. If he isn't there already, I think he's so good. It was a weird race. It usually is these days. Not too much gets into it from the back, and that was the case. The outside of the whole field finished third, having set the pace. I thought Toby Moore gave Maxi King a really good ride back in second. He looked very much worth his place in that kind of company. But yeah, I mean, Dylan Brown McMonagle, Joseph O'Brien. Joseph had his 40th winner of the season yesterday. It was Dylan's 5th winner from his last 12 rides. I mean, they are a powerhouse going forward. They are the most impressive team. And they're a joy to watch, I think, because you almost always know they're going to turn up, and they really have a go at the big races, don't they? They're not afraid to shy away. We've seen Joseph go to Melbourne, of course, in his short career so far, and yeah, I love what they're doing for the sport. I think they're really taking it to a new level, actually. Yeah,
I think Joseph, like just the way that he campaigns his horses, I mean, both concentrating on the jumps and the flat. You've got Banbridge running here, there and everywhere in Grand Nationals and King George's. You've then got horses going over Al Rifa, going across to Saudi, across to the Melbourne Cup. It is just an unbelievable placer of his horses.
He is, and as you say, what he did over the jumps, the season we just had, particularly with horses like Home by the Lee. Home by the Lee, he's got to win. I mean, amazing at the top level at his age. He's only got a handful of jumps horses, but they're all seemingly of a very high level. And he's got very few horses on the flat who would be below the rating of 80. He seems to be a masterful buyer, purchaser of horses. He's obviously got a very good team in that regard. I know that Kevin Blake is heavily involved. But you need a big team. You need a good team around you if you're going to make it. And he has got that. And he seems to be just a juggernaut that isn't stopping.
Yeah, I think the Queen Alexandra at Royal Ascot might well be the next port of call for A Piece of Heaven. We'll then move on to the Ormond Stakes. Jan Bruegel won this by 2.5 lengths. Is now 5-2 with Bet365 for the Coronation Cup. Could well beat Calandagan again. The day that he beat Calandagan was ridden from the front, tested Calandagan's patience-wise, but unlikely for Chester, was ridden more conservatively in this race by Ryan Moore.
Yeah, possibly to to get him to be taught a little bit, maybe. I know that sounds ridiculous given the fact he's quite experienced now, but I thought for the majority of his career so far, last year, he looked green, pretty much. He was still a very much work in progress. I think it's great that they might clash again at Epsom, because it sounds mad to say this because they were first and second in the race last year, but I think since we saw them last year, both seem to have improved. I mean, we certainly know Calandigan has, but what Jan Bruegel did at Chester, I thought, looked like he's probably improved as well. And it could be a proper clash again, couldn't it, over the course of the season, over a mile and a half. I mean, Calandigan is worthy of his very, place at the top table, very much so now. It always makes me think of how good City of Troy was, to be honest, now that we know what Calandigan has done. But yeah, I think it's good to see two really, really good horses over a mile and a half, and I think we have got them.
Yeah, the third element of that in that conversation, I think, for the Coronation Cup, if we look through the market currently with Bet365, Calandigan 11-8, Jan Bruegel 5-2, Convergent 11-2, and then you've got Lambourne in there at 8-1, and he's coming in to the race off the back of a victory in the Huxley Stakes. I thought it was given a masterful ride by Ryan Moore for the front, beat Bay City Roller by a neck, but Ryan Moore he can do everything, can't he? Front running, held up from the rear, and he was at pains to make this a stamina test over 10 furlongs. It
was a joy to watch, isn't it, with Ryan doing his thing, particularly on a horse that perhaps isn't going that well, which Lambourne didn't seem to be. Halfway through the race, he was being niggled along. Ryan was up at him. But the thing about Ryan is he doesn't go for it, does he? He doesn't go for the stick. He doesn't push the horse too hard too early. He just tries to get the revs up, and that's exactly what he did with Lambourne. We saw that, didn't we, last year? Both Derby victories, that he's a horse, he's a bit of a grinder. I did think the Bay City Roller was a little bit soft in the finish. I thought coming to the final furlong he was going to go by, but Lambourne maybe is just a little bit underrated perhaps because he only ever seems to do enough, and that was exactly the case at Chester. And you almost feel as though if he gets a lead at Epsom, if he does go to the Coronation Cup and he keeps on finding, it'll take a decent performance to go past him because he clearly has got plenty of latent talent. It will, and it will really test Mikel Barcelona because it's all right if you're just aiming at a front runner, but his then, in my head, is going to have Lambourne setting the pace out in front in the Coronation Cup, then a couple back to have Jan Bruegel, and then Calandigan will be held up in his normal sort of tactics. But you can't let Lambourne go too far ahead because of what we know that he's going to do in both the Derby performances from last year. So the Coronation Cup is often a small field, but actually this year could be a really good race. Yeah, and I think that's exactly how it will pan out tactically as well. I can see it as you've just visualised because in Dubai, Calandigan was given a very patient ride by Mikel Barcelona. I think he knew that he was a class above those lots, so he was kind of overly confident. He won't be able to do that at Epsom. He will come from behind, almost certainly, but he can't give him a few lengths because they will be away from him. Yeah, it has the makings of a proper race, doesn't it? And great that we have three horses likely to go there who have got Epsom course and distance form, because obviously a lot of the time in that race you get really good mile and a half horses who perhaps don't like it so much, the track, but these three, we know handle it really well. Yeah, and throwing Convergent as well, who's obviously progressive as well, and yeah, it's just going to be, it's going to be really, really interesting. He was so impressive at Newbury, wasn't he? He was, yeah. Finally got that gap. Oh, it's unbelievable how he quickened up. And what I loved about that as well, that before the race, because actually it was about a month before that they were talking about Constitution Hill going for the race. Yeah. And I remember Matt Chapman interviewed Carl Burke about it, and Carl Burke said, well, I'm not worried because we've got one for the race. And he was absolutely right, because had Connie Hill turned up, I think he would have been too good anyway, because he's a proper horse Convergent. Yeah, certainly is, certainly is. We'll then move on to the Derby trials. The Chester Vase, the first one that we'll touch on. Benvenuto Cellini justified his short prices, now as short as 9-4 for the Derby. Beat Proposition, his stablemate, by 4 1/4 lengths. I think this was probably more style than substance to earn his spot at the top of the market. Yeah, I think he did what he needed to do, didn't he? It was a weak race. His last couple of furlongs were 2 seconds faster than anything else, but that's to be expected. He was a cut above. He still looked a bit green to me. I think he needed experience, so he'll probably be a nicer prospect because of that experience. It's just very difficult to know at this stage, isn't it? Because the Derby pecking order is yet to be really established. He did what he needed to do. I mean, there's no more to say than that. It wasn't a test of his ability, really. It was just I suppose, a sign that he is returning this season with a decent chance of a Group 1 win. But how good he is, I'm yet to be convinced. Yeah, I suppose it's never going to be a negative, the fact that he's handled Chester on fast ground. No. I suppose by newspaper a record who wanted it
as firm a ground as possible. I suppose the only thing that would count against Benvenuto Cellini in the derby would be if it came up soft ground, because of his action and the way that he sort of disappointed in the Futurity Trophy last year on heavy ground at Doncaster as well.
And I don't know, will he handle Epsom? I know he handled Chester okay, but it was a small field and he didn't have much to beat. But down the Camber, he just strikes me, given how he looked quite raw and green still at Chester, I'd want to see a lot more professionalism at Epsom, because we'll talk about Constitution River in a second, but you compare the two and how professional they look. Well, the other one looked much more down for the challenge, I would say.
Yeah, I watched the replay 2 or 3 times at the finish, and I couldn't work it out because of his white face, because it's not a straight line down the middle of his face, whether he had a bit of a wonky head or whether it was just his white blaze. But I don't think he's completely straightforward, whereas Constitution River, who won the D Stakes by 7 lengths, I think is, even though he's had less racing, I think is more of a finished article.
I'm with you. I think he's a lovely prospect. He's a beautiful moving horse. He's a perfect model of a racehorse. Physically, he does everything so easily. He runs over that ground at Chester so smoothly. He put the race to bed really impressively. Didn't look green at all, didn't look raw. Looks a horse who might go to France, that's what Aidan said, but I hope he goes to Epsom. You look at the dam side of the pedigree, there's a huge amount of stamina. I think the dam's assisted to Wonderful tonight. He won over a mile 6. There's 2 mile winners in that pedigree. A mile and a half is going to be no problem at all. He might even improve for it. I love what he did, a bit like you. We were talking about it before we came on, how impressed we were. The only thing I would say, if we bring back Benvenuto into the conversation, is that over the winter, Benvenuto was the Derby favourite, wasn't he? He's been the favourite for a long time, which would suggest that in Aidan O'Brien's mind, he has been the one they've had as top billing for the race. That said, things can change. They have probably changed. But yeah, that would be my only thing. I think Aidan quite likes to stick to his guns and have the horse that he has in mind for Epsom go to Epsom. And Constitution River, who clearly has plenty of pace, maybe he will end up in France. But yeah, it's so fascinating, isn't it? And of course, we've got Christmas Day to look forward to in the Dante as well. Yeah,
I think it's interesting with Constitution River because he could go French Derby over 10, then be your sort of horse that will go to the Eclipse, the Juddmonte, the Irish Champion Stakes, the Champion Stakes. But I really do hope that he goes to Epsom. I think this might well prove the best 3-year-old colt of the year this year, and I think you might well be in agreement with
No,
me.
I do. I agree. What we saw at Chester, I know he's got a lot to do still to show us that he's worthy of being at the top table, but I mean, there was so much to like, wasn't there? Just visually, you could look at data and metrics all you like, all day long, but at the end of the day, if you're a racing purist, what you see is what you want to see, what you see is what you get, and with him, we saw a lot.
We did. We saw a UK contender come from Lingfield, though. That's Maltese Cross. Beat Bay of Brilliance by a neck, out 8-1 for the Derby. He's the shortest in the market that isn't trained by Aidan O'Brien, currently at 8-1. I thought it was a nice performance, but whether he can then step forward to trouble the likes of the Aidan O'Brien firepower at Epsom is another question.
I can't work out if he's just a bit lazy, because when he won at Newbury in that novice race, he only just got up. Then he went and stepped up in grade at Lingfield, and he only just got up again, beat Bay of Brilliance by a neck. He ran a really good race in second. Difficult to know the strength of that form. He does just do enough, a bit like Lambo we talked about earlier. He's a grinder. He's tough, very tough actually. I was impressed with his attitude, no doubt. I just wonder how much is under the bonnet. I think there's a fair bit to come because he does seem to be just not putting it all quite in at the moment. He needs a battle, I feel. But there was plenty of improvement, wasn't there, between the Newbury run and that run? And he could easily improve again. He's trained by an absolute master. So I can see it. I just think of all the Derby trials that we saw, I know that the other two didn't have too much to beat at Chester, but I'd be keener on Aidan O'Brien's Constitution River. Look, if they raced in a match now, Maltese Cross and Constitution River, I know I'd want to side with, to be honest.
I agree. Another one to bring into the occasion is James J. Braddock, won the Derrinstown Derby trial, beat Pierre Bonnard by a short head. He's now 25-1 for the Derby with Bet365. I suppose put into that is the fact that he isn't a certainty to go to Epsom. I think he'd be shorter in the market if he was going to be a confirmed runner, but I know Kevin Blake in an interview afterwards said that he wasn't sure that Epsom would suit given fast ground on that track.
Interested to hear what you thought about this, because I have to say I thought he was super impressive. I mean, the pace was pretty slack in the early part of the race, that the sectionals back that up. And the way he finished, his finishing speed and his final sectional was really good in the context of the race. And to get up and beat Pierre Bonnard, who Aidan still clearly thinks is a proper Derby contender, in the way that he did, given that nothing really went right within the race, I think was hugely taking. I would be very keen on him going forward this season. As you say, might not go to the Derby, maybe goes to Curragh, I don't know, possibly. That might suit him a little bit better, but he's certainly not to be underestimated. And he's really lightly raced. So there could be loads more to come. And I think stepped up in trip again, we're going to see him even better. I think he's a really nice prospect.
Yeah, it's just going to be where we see him later on in the season. We then move towards the fillies, the Oaks trials. I'm the One started last week as favourite for the Oaks following her impressive Newbury success, but Amelia Earhart beat her comfortably, I thought, at Chester, and is now the Aidan O'Brien trained filly is who heads the market. Currently 2-1 with Bet365 for the Oaks. A rare blinkers and hood combination for Amelia Earhart.
Crazy. Never thought I'd see that from an Aidan O'Brien horse, particularly in a race like the Cheshire Oaks. But we got it. I'm the One didn't handle the track.
No.
I mean, I think that's what William said afterwards, wasn't it? And she clearly wasn't happy from the outset, I would say. Just going around those turns didn't suit her, which would be a slight concern going to Epsom, which isn't an easy track either. I wouldn't discount or give up on I'm the One just yet, because they've clearly had a top of the table in that yard for quite some time, the Gosdens. But Amelia, she was pretty impressive, Amelia Earhart. I mean, if she goes to the Oaks, she's going to wear that headgear combination again. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, that's just not Aidan O'Brien, is it, to put that kind of headgear on? I mean, it's genius because clearly it's worked and she's proven so tractable in the race. But, I do wonder, she's obviously very quirky, isn't she, at home?
That was my angle towards it, and Willie Mullins does it slightly, because when a trainer that doesn't often use headgear uses a weird combination, they've clearly worked on it at home. That was my angle in with Amelia Earhart on the show last week, is they've clearly played around with various combinations of headgear at home, and that's the one that's worked. And the fact that it was fitted for her reappearance and it wasn't going to be a trial made me really like her for this. Whether she can then step forward from that effort, I thought going up in trip would suit her, because if you look at her breeding, I think she's a full sister to Cleveland, who won a Chester Cup. So going up in trip would have suited her for running for a mile last year. You don't want to be a quirky horse at Epsom, though. That's the only thing that's in the back of my head. You could get away with it at Chester in a small field when you had a pacemaker to do the job for you. I was a fan of her last week for the Cheshire Oaks. I'm not so much of a fan at her at 2-1 for the Oaks.
It is short, isn't it? But the caveat I would say about that is that I don't think it looks a very good race this year.
No.
We've also got the Musidora to come this week, so we'll see how that pans out. But I wouldn't say that looks the strongest Musidora either. So I don't think there's a huge amount of opposition at the moment up against Amelia Earhart. That could change, of course. And interesting to see if Cameo does go for the race, because I know that you want to talk about that next. But I wouldn't say it. I think the Derby looks vintage at the moment. Looks really exciting to see who's going to go there. But I wouldn't say the same about the Oaks necessarily.
All I would say on that, and I thought the same, but if you rewind 12 months, Whirl wasn't really fancied in a Musidora. Mini Hawk wasn't particularly impressive in a Cheshire Oaks. And then you had Giselle, who was arguably the most impressive in the Linkfield Oaks trial, then kind of lose her way towards the end of the season. And Whirl went on to win, what did she win, a Pretty Polly and a Nassau Stakes. And Mini Hawk did what she did.
Yeah.
So Aidan O'Brien's just a genius at getting these fillies in order to step forward from those runs. Cameo could well step forward. She beat Prizeland by 4 3/4 lengths in the Lingfield Oaks trial. She's now 16-1 for the Oaks. Was sent off joint favourite or joint second favourite 100-30 with a stablemate. Wasn't particularly well fancied, but I particularly liked what she did in the final furlong of the race. I thought she was one of these horses that had progressed and grown up and was really quite professional at the finish.
Yeah, I liked it too. I don't think Lingfield's an easy track for a filly of that nature to handle, and she handled it with aplomb, which is encouraging, isn't it, going to a track like Epsom if she does go there. Again, not the strongest race, I think, possibly in the world, but she couldn't have done it any more impressively. And, I mean, if you look at 25-1, if she's going to go to the race, you can see her running a big one, to be honest. And, a bit like Amelia Earhart. I mean, he's done it so many times, you mentioned it just now. The horses who, haven't been stars in their sort of 2-year-old career come and just improve hand over fist, don't they, in 3-year-old career? And it's a lot to do with the breeding and the way they prepare their horses over at Ballydoyle, and they're very patient with them. But we've seen it so many times in the past. Horses who I've completely discounted because they've been at the high level as a 2-year-old, but not the highest. And then they just come and grow a different leg, don't they, in the 3-year-old career. So, yeah, she could be another one.
Yeah, I suppose the most, well, not the most recent, but St Mark's Basilica, I think, was beaten, first 6 stars or something, and then ended up being, like, absolute star at 3, winning everything over 10 furlongs.
Yeah, I think, was it Snowfall?
Yeah.
Is that the right name of the horse? She was a pretty mediocre 2-year-old and then went and just flourished as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, Mother Earth. There's loads of those that they run in the debutante and the Moyglare that are 2nd and 3rd strings and ended up going forward and ended up being the best. It's amazing how they work. Amazing how they work. I think the best filly that we saw ran in France, Diamond Necklace, won the French 1,000 guineas, beat the last dance by 3 lengths, now 5-1 for the Oaks. I think she's more likely to go to the Diane, though, by the looks of the media day yesterday. I thought this was the perfect reappearance.
She wins what she wants, doesn't she? I mean, she's that good. We just talked about 2-year-olds who flourish in their 3-year-old career who haven't been that exciting at 2, but she was. And she looks more exciting at 3, I would say. She's gone clear, beaten a pretty good filly, I would say, in the last dance so easily. The confidence that Ryan Moore exuded there was quite something. The only thing I would say, if you're looking to find fault, not that it's really a fault, but obviously the ground was pretty soft. The rain was coming down all day. It was très souple, I think they called it in the end. You never really know with French goings, but it could have been heavy, to be honest. Yeah. It looked that way. And she does handle that ground. We saw that last year. So that's the only thing I would say. Maybe she handled it slightly better than everything else. At the same time, though, I think she looks an absolute machine. The Diane looks a sensible move, doesn't it? Because they've got a couple they might send to Epsom. I think she'd be she might go off odds on for the Diane. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I love what she did. I think she's a proper filly. And yeah, I mean, I said to you at the top of the show, or before we came on, and you agreed that she could be an arc filly, couldn't she, this year? I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise. Yeah,
that ability to handle that softer ground as well is a tick. The ability to go over to France. She obviously won the Marcel Boussac over there last year as well. Handles the track, handles the ground. The only question mark is the 1.5 mile distance. Whether she ends up being better at 10 furlongs as opposed to 12 furlongs is a question mark. But yeah, I thought the 16-1 that's still available with Bet365 was a big price with regards to the Arc. And if I was to have an anti-post bet on that race currently, it would be her out of anyone.
Yeah, me too. And you look at Ryan Moore, as we have done for years and years and years, and we've become, I think everyone's become a little bit of a master of watching his body language and how he's going on a horse. For me, he looked like he was cruising. Just absolutely, he didn't really ask her for anything, really. I mean, she won it so easily. And that's a Group 1. And let's not forget, that's a Group 1 on a return as well. So she might come on for that.
Yeah.
I just feel she's straight out of the top drawer. And possibly, this might sound a bit silly, but possibly going forward might be the most exciting horse in training.
Ooh.
Up there for sure. Because she got that. Well, she's unbeaten.
Yeah.
She's clearly got a huge amount of upside going forward over trips. She could easily stay 1.5 miles. And in a season where we have proven, exposed, classy sorts like Calandagan and Jan Bruegel, etc., we have this exciting new kid on the block to an extent who hasn't lost a race yet, and everything she's done has been so impressive. So, yeah, I think she's really, really good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they split her up with Mini Hawk for the remainder of the season.
It'll be fascinating, won't it? And what would you do you think?
I'm looking to take Mini Hawk on over 10 furlongs. I think she might prove vulnerable on fast ground over that trip. So I think she's a 1.5 mile horse. I think Diamond Necklace is going to stay over 10. I think I can see her being your Pretty Polly, then moving on to the Nassau Stakes. I can see her as the 10 furlong filly and get Mini Hawk back up to 1.5 miles, the likes of the Yorkshire Oaks. That's the way I would go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair assessment. Would you?
Because she's going to stay in training, isn't she? Generally, with the fillies from that operation, they'll stay in training at 4. So you can go for the Arc towards the end of the year, and then she can be campaigned as a 1.5 mile horse.
Yeah.
As a 4-year-old.
Yeah, definitely. Let's say the races that you just mentioned from both, they win them all. They remain unbeaten throughout the course of the season. They both go to the Arc.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be the stronger of the two?
I don't know. And that's the glory of flat racing.
Yeah, then you've got Darius swooping down the outside anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Good segue onto connections of Calandagan. and Darius. Rayef, we didn't touch on him in the Derby chat because he's not going to be going over the Derby trip.
No.
He looks like a proper miler. Won the French 2000 Guineas. He's now 8-1 with Bet365 for the St James's Palace Stakes, where he could meet Bo Echo. In my dream world, Stard wins the Irish 2000 Guineas in impressive style, and then into St James's Palace Stakes, you get the 3 Guineas winners have a match-up.
Yeah, it's what you want every year, isn't it, in that race? You want it to be an early culmination of top-class 3-year-old mile form. Hopefully we get that. Rayef was very impressive, I thought. Again, another one a bit like Diamond Necklace in the Phillies version. He got that nice run on the inside, but quickened up really, really well. Went past Hankelo in a matter of strides, and I think Hankelo's quite good, to be honest. And what I liked most before the race, actually, was that Francis Graffard has got an unbelievable strength and depth in most divisions, really. And he could have run a few horses in that race. He chose to go with Ray if he was coming back from an absence. And to do that after a break in the style that he did, I thought was most impressive. Now, you've got, as you mentioned, Bo Echo and potentially Stard, who could easily come on for the Guineas run, potentially lining up in that St James's Palace. It could be another proper clash. I mean, that week, if they all turn up in all the big races, we've got a serious week ahead of us. Haven't we, Ron Ascot? It's going to be something else.
It certainly is. It is every year.
Yeah.
But that's James's Palace. It's just like last year.
Yeah.
Last year you had the winners of all 3 2000 Guineas matching up, and I just hope that we get the same. Anything else from the week that you want to touch on that we haven't so far?
I'll mention Lake Forest.
Yeah.
Just because I know that he was down in grade at Haydock, and it was only a listed race, and he's probably a bona fide Group 2 at least before. We've seen him in Group 1s go very well as well, of course. Yeah, I thought you just did it really impressive. As a horse should. It was quite nice to see that. And I don't know about you, but I like it when horses strut their stuff in slightly lower company when they're better than those horses, just so you know how good they actually are, and it just reminds you because, yeah, I thought it was a very nice effort. And I loved, is it Tom Marquand who rode him? Yeah, I loved the body language of him in the closing stages. He had every base covered. It was very nice. Apart from that, not too much else really. I just thought it was a really good training performance from Tom Clover to get the Wizard of Eye home in front again, and almost did what Charlie Fellows did a couple of years ago with the same horse in the same race.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they go, because yeah, Charlie Fellows went towards the, well, as it was, the Diamond Jubilee, whereas I imagine the Wizard of Eye will probably head to probably the Buckingham Palace. That's the 7 furlong handicap,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because he's kind of proved now that he's not up to that group level, but the handicaps are definitely within reach. I just want to shout out connections of Moonchime. Obviously won the Swinton Hurdle for lesser connections for them to win that race. I thought was a nice performance.
Yeah, a nice fillip for them for sure. A race that often has a strange result because of the time of year, but yeah, I mean they've done pretty well with the horses in those silks over the years, haven't they? So yeah, Moonchime, another one. I think those conditions really suited them, didn't they? That kind of ground and that kind of slick trip, I suppose. But yeah, he did it really well.
Yeah, definitely. Right, that was an action-packed version of Racing Recap. Before we get into our York and weekend preview, just to let you know, our sponsor Bet365 have a best odds guaranteed offer. It's available on every single UK and Irish race from 8 AM on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you out at the bigger odds. Full terms and conditions can be found on the website. I'm delighted to have Ed now alongside us for our York preview. We're going to kick off with the Minster Stakes. It's a Group 2 over 6 furlongs, a race last year that Inisherin beat Flora of Bermuda. Big Mojo currently heads the market, last year's Haydock Sprint Cup winner. You've got Kind of Blue, Time for Sandals, and the returning American Affair as well. Who is it for you in the Minster Stakes?
Look, it's an above average renewal, inverted commas, isn't it? Or at least is that's a good stock. Yeah, it's full of quality. I've gone a little bit off piece. I've put my long shot goggles on straight away. That prescription's come in. I just wondered, Almonjed has lots to make up on official ratings, but we've had this chat in previous shows. I wonder with this kind of crop, you can go a little bit OTT with ratings. I don't think there's much between them as you're often led to believe. It's a horse who just absolutely loves it here, isn't it? 3 from 4 over the C&D. Whatever reason, smells the Knavesmire and things just come alive. But you look at the overall profile form, it takes a significant jump. Will Buick's been booked to ride as well, I believe. I just thought the horses for courses syndrome may hold some weight here. And I still thought off a mark, I think it's 105 off the top of my head, the horse could easily not easily, but maybe the handicap option off a big weight would still be there. But it is kind of interesting there. Well, I say the handicap option. They're looking at this route. I think they could find easier races with easier handicaps to go down, would be the way I'd phrase it better. But Almond Jed, 3 from 4, course and distance. Ground's going to be spot on. Buick booked. I'm going for a bit of an upset, shall we say, or at least look each way, because I think he'll travel into it as good as anything, like a travelling thing. And then he might not find at that level, because he is officially getting the 11, 12 pound wrong at the weights here with a few of these. So, Almond Jed each way for an upset.
Yeah, currently 16-1 with Bet365 at the time of recording, and they are an extra place on the race as well. Rather than 3 places, you can get 4 with Bet365. Tom, who for you?
Yeah, I quite like the Almond Jed angle, actually, the York angle. I've gone with a horse who also seems to quite like it at York. Won the Gimcrack last year. That's Cool Who Fluke. It wouldn't be the most straightforward route going via the Lady Wolfruna at Wolverhampton, which is what he won last time. That was over 7 furlongs. But he won it pretty easily, given the fact he was very keen, pulled hard in the early part of the race. I don't think 7 furlongs really is what he wants going forward. I think he's a pretty fast horse. 6 furlongs seems to be the place I would send him. That's exactly what Andrew Balding is doing. And yeah, good winner of the Gimcrack last season, and first time he returns to this course and distance. I thought he represented some value, 9-1. He's had a nice run this season, or a couple of runs actually, with Diligent, finished behind Completely Random and Diligent Harry earlier on in the Catchy Stakes at Lingfield. So he's had a couple of pipe openers, and back at the scene of his best victory so far. I think he'll represent a bit of a play. Around about 9-1, 10-1, isn't he? Yeah,
9-1 at the time of recording with Bet365. We'll then move on to the Musadora Stakes, Group 2 over 1 mile and 2. Whirl was an impressive winner on this before finishing second in the Oaks. Now, it's a small but select field currently. Legacy Link heads the market at 11-8. Felicitas, unbeaten in 2, is 11-4. Moments of Joy, 9-2. See the Storm, who won on her stable debut for William Haggas last time, 11-2. K Sarah, 22-1, and Della Pace at 66-1. So only 6 runners, but I think there's 4 in with a really good chance.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting race. I mean, the fact that I'll start with K Sarah, because the fact that Rafe Beckett's sending her to the race, I think, is probably a bit of a tip in itself. I know that she was well beaten in the Fred Darling on her return, but she was a really impressive winner on her debut, albeit in a weak race, and I wouldn't give up on her just yet. I know she's got a lot to find at the ratings. See the Storm again. Quite surprised that William Haggas has put her in here, given that she only scraped home in what looked a pretty weak affair at Wetherby on her first start for the yard. Legacy Link, Jonathan Eddie Gosden has such a good record in this race, don't they? And it speaks volumes they rely on her. The one that I think is going to be a very smart horse this season is Felicitas. Ed Walker has got a tremendous team of 3-year-olds this season. Synchronicity looks extremely exciting. She won on debut at Newbury. I know they think an awful lot of her, but they think a lot of this filly too. And she blitzed them at Sandown. I thought that was her first start on turf. Did it really impressively. This is another step up, of course, but I don't see why she shouldn't be able to handle it. The quote that Ed Walker gave us after Sandown, after that break, was that she's a really smart filly in the making. And I wouldn't say this is the strongest looking Musadora I've ever seen by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly gives her a chance of taking another step up the ladder here. And the fact that she's had a recent run over Legacy Link, I think, is a good sign too. So I'd be very much in her camp. Haven't even mentioned Moments of Joy, but on that run at the Curragh last time, I'd be willing to take her on too.
Yeah, Moments of Joy, if you go back to the Fillies Mile form, she finished 5th. Legacy Link finished 4th behind Precise that day, but the form obviously has been boosted. Evolutionist obviously went on and ran well in the 1,000 guineas from that race as well. It's Felicitas for Tom. Who for you, Ed?
Tentatively Legacy Link, but no strong views on this overall. To take on board what Tom's saying, Felicitas, really excited type. Really like the kind of turbo, the turn of foot last time out at Esher. Legacy Link was, as you say, went 4th in the Fillies Mile, under the pump some way out, but did make late games. Now, kind of mixed signals on pedigree. I'm on the damn side. There's enough pedigree in the stamina to suggest 10 furlongs should suit. The visual perspective definitely does suggest that this step up to 10 furlongs should suit. But then there is the inverted commas, the unquantifiable race fitness, isn't there? Felicitas coming back after 19 days, looking magic. Legacy Link, 215 days off the track, could just need this before blossoming. So, very slightly with Legacy Link, but no strong views on this because we just don't know where we are naturally with a few of these right at still the start of the season.
Yeah, this is a real trial, isn't it? And you've got yards that are doing really well so far this year with their 3-year-olds as well. Jonathan Gosden, Ed Walker in particular for these connections as well. TBT Racing, they've got some really nice 3-year-olds as well this year, and obviously Aidan O'Brien won everything with regards to Derby and Oaks trials.
Moments of Joy just looks a bit underwhelming, but then I was talking about Amelia Earhart, wasn't I, with you earlier? Just I thought it was incredibly underwhelming as a 2-year-old, and then they do just suddenly blossom. Now, she just needed that run at the Curragh. I said the run's not all that bad, is it, in the Fillies Mile? So she's not a million miles away. It's just, I suppose she's a bit more what you call exposed than a few of the others in here. But yeah, I'm not falling off my chair in amazement when Ryan Moore's non-celebrating as he goes over the line 5 lengths clear. So funny old race to work out.
Yeah, a relatively similar profile to what Well had last year as well. She didn't look like anything
and then
early on in her career, clicked and then went on to win a couple of Group 1s later on in the season. It's amazing to see the progression that he can get them to make. We've just had declarations through for the Thursday races. The Middleton Fillies Stakes is a Group 2 over 1 mile and 2. Last year's impressive 12-length winner, See the Fire, heads the market at 5-4 with Bet365. Diamond Rain, third in the Breeders' Cup behind Jazora when last seen, is next in at 3-1. Fallen Angel stepping back up in trip is 4-1. Red Letter, Juddmonte obviously choosing to run her rather than Calpana, is next in at 6-1. You've then got Fairy Glen, who won her last 2 at 14-1. Ed, I'll come to you first for this race. Is it as simple as See the Fire, rinse and repeat?
Most likely winner would be the way I'd phrase it. As you say, I imagine Calpana's not running it because of the ground. I'm not privy to information, but it looks like it's going to be pretty quick on the names, even if they get a millimetre, which is potentially forecast. But See the Fire, this is her race. She loves this scenario. As you say, last year's form looks pretty hot, doesn't it? Diamond Rain, again, don't quite know what to make of. Well, the yard as a whole, we know what to make of at the moment. Are drawing blanks, aren't they? Plus, you've got the 193-day layoff. See the Fire, nice win, tuned up for this. Fallen Angel on the back of a long layoff. I've got to be with See the Fire. But this race has cut up quite dramatically from the entry stage, hasn't it? Well, I thought we'd have a bit more of a burn up. But what are we, around 5-4, See the Fire?
5-4.
Yeah, I think probably right. For all that, it doesn't potentially excite me. I've got much more stronger views in the handicaps, but I think See the Fire is the right favourite.
Yeah, I think we were both on Racing TV when See the Fire made a winning reappearance in the Nottinghamshire Oaks. Tom, I think if you'd have stopped that furlong out, she'd have been a lot shorter than the current 5-4 that was available. But
yeah, I mean, just hung on, didn't she? It was real squeaky bum time. It's a heartbeat, closing very quickly. But the mid-race move that she made, the move with 2 furlongs to go, was of a Group 1 filly. She is a Group 1 filly at her best. Well, probably Group 2, really. But yeah, it was a decent enough performance on return. I think Rob Hornby was sort of chastising himself a little bit after the race, which I thought was a little bit harsh on himself, really, because he had to make the move when he did. She's a filly who loves the Knavesmire. You know, and she was so good in this race last year. I actually thought she was going to go on and be one of the best horses of the entire season, but I suppose that maybe she's just a little bit flattered by how good she looked. That said, coming back to the scene of that success, you'd have to be very confident that she's going to be winning this again. Diamond Rain, I'm not sure have they got a rogue agent like go and spoil the carrots in Godolphin? Like what is going on at Charlie Appleby's? It's extraordinary. Since Opera Ballo won? I'm not sure they've had a single winner. I mean, it's quite extraordinary.
Not from 17 this month.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, so you couldn't be confident Diamond Rain's going to run. I think Fallen Angel's really interesting because this is only the second time she's been stepped up to this kind of trip. Now, it may prove a problem off the back of a break. That's the issue because she might just need it. And if the stamina is tested a little bit over this mile 2.5, then that'll be a concern. But the only other time she ran was in the Prix de l'Opera and ran okay for 4th. I didn't think you could really be too conclusive about whether the trip was what she wanted or what she didn't want. So I think going forward this season, it's fascinating that they're not actually going to stick to a mile, potentially going to step up in distance. The other two, I think, got chances as well. I think Red Letter's got a chance. That was a decent reappearance behind Stafford at the Curragh. The one I think is going to run above our odds is Fairy Glen. I'm sorry. Ryan Morbin's booked.
Don't be sorry.
Ryan Moore's been booked. She was in very good form over in Dubai. She's got the race fitness on her side. And I know that she was last seen running over 2 miles. So this is a massive hike back in trip. But before that, she won a Group 2 over a mile 1. And she beat Cabal Del Mar, who's a really good stayer. He ran really well in the Cigaro on reappearance. And that's pretty strong form. Now, Ryan's on. I'd be very disappointed if they didn't just try and make all here and put the others under pressure.
Yeah.
Use that stamina. Exactly. And I can see her running above her odds. Whether or not she'd be good enough to win, I don't know. But at the same time, Ryan's really going to gun her forward, I would imagine. So I look forward to seeing what she can do. I think she represents a little bit of value, but at the same time, I do think See the Fire will be hard to beat.
Okay, See the Fire, then the one to beat at 5-4, but Fairy Glen given a shot at 14-1 by Tom. We move on to the Dante Stakes. I'm really looking forward to this race. We've got 8 declared, thankfully, for each way purposes. And I think all 8 have a really good chance. You've got Christmas Day heading the market at 9-4. He has won his previous 3 races, including the Ballysax when beating Endorsement and Pierre Bonnard. 100-30 for Morshty, who won the Field and Stakes, was a non-runner at Chester in the D Stakes. 9-2 for Item, unbeaten in 2 starts last season. 8-1 for Action, who hopefully will bounce back to form, having been disappointing at Sandown in a tongue tie that's now been removed. And then you've got the 3 for Godolphin. King's Trail, the choice of William Buick. Alzanati with Billy Loughnane on. And Guildmaster at 10-1 for James Doyle, as well as Wise Prince, who finished 3rd in the Classic Trial at Sandown as well. Tom, this is really competitive.
It is really competitive. I'm really disappointed that Saxon Street has not been declared for this because I really fancied him coming into it. So therefore, my view on the race as regards a winner has changed a little bit. Christmas Day is interesting given the fact that he did so well on reappearance. Morshty, who knows how good he might be. I think potentially the most exciting horse in the race could be Item. He's got that wonderful pedigree, hasn't he? Son of Frankel out of a Lope de Vega mare, and the dam Capilla Temptress was a Grade 1 winner herself. So far, he's looked really exciting in 2 starts. Obviously, he's come back from a break, but I'm sure they'll have him pretty well tuned up for this. And I remember when he won at Kempton on debut, the vibes were very strong about him. And there was a lot of chat about how good he could be. So I'd be really interested in him for the season going forward. So, yeah, I think if there's going to be a potential winner, it might come from him, but I wouldn't have a particularly strong view. I mean, he's rated 93 at the moment, Morshty and Christmas Day 110, 111. So there's a bit of ground to be made up there, but it should be very informative, as it usually is. Rab Havlin and Wise Prince in the colours of Jack Hobbs. Interesting runner for the Gosden team. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very much giving it a watching brief here. I just hope that Item turns into a nice horse. I think he will be. That pedigree's lovely, isn't it? So yeah, fingers crossed he'll be a good horse this season.
Yeah, I echo a lot of that. It's an equine Rubik's Cube, isn't it, really, in terms of the... just saying, in terms of, Charlie Appleby, normally you'd be saying, well, there's 2 real horses here jumping off the page, but they're still under that kind of cloud, the Aidan O'Brien stringlet. They shoot them, they kind of advertise themselves, don't they? I agree with Item, interesting. I mean, that's obvious form, isn't it? A Bath novice to the Dante, and the form itself, I say the runner-up Blue Cavazier's actually let the form down, was beaten off 83 in a handicap the other day. Ascot did badly, but yeah, it's about what's not been achieved rather than what has, isn't it? In that case, and the step up a trip will definitely suit Item. Just wonder whether this might be a race too soon. But for all that, I could see Item running very well in defeat and enhancing the claims. A bit like, the boxer that goes 12 rounds and loses, and everyone says, oh, they've enhanced their reputation. I could see that with Item. Might just be a little bit wet behind the ears for this. But I do think, say, Kukura in the pedigree would be a lovely long-term prospect. So, yeah, I'm tentatively with Morshty. But again, I think we are guessing, if the truth be told here. Not a lot to split them on what we know. Christmas Days... A grinder has won 3, doesn't seem to blow me away every time, but keeps ending up in a winner's enclosure, did that in the Ballysack. So, watching brief for me, but be interested. I'd like to see something come out and absolutely just annihilate the field, and then I can be saying something to the new Pierre Bonnard, which I've been waiting to say for ages, because I thought that was going to annihilate everything so far this season, and hasn't done. So, it'd be good to see a kind of authorised style performance here. That's what gets me excited.
Yeah, it's a really interesting race, isn't it? Because Christmas Day was, second string when he won. Obviously, Pierre Bonnard kind of blew out, but Endorsement and Pierre Bonnard didn't really advertise that form, in my opinion, in the Derrynstown Derby trial. Morshty, the second from the Field and Stakes, disappointed at Newmarket on the next start. Item, we don't know how ready he's going to be for this. Action was poor last time at Sandown. King's Trail, midfield in the 2,000 guineas. I'd probably go for the 3 outsiders. Alzanati, I quite liked. Second behind Rahib in the Classic Trial at Sandown, Billy Loughnane on. question mark around the form is obviously the form of the stable.
We wanted Raheem here, though, didn't we? That was
Yeah. Wise Prince, I thought, ran well in third, shaped like he'd come on for the run. And then Guildmaster was slightly disappointed. I was disappointed at the time. I backed the horse, finished third on his reappearance. I know Mayo Bay didn't particularly enhance that form either, but I think he's still quite good going forward. I thought, yeah, the three that were available at sort of 10 to 1. I think this is going to be a very changeable market. I think it's going to be one that's going to be interesting to see nearer the time to see how the prices go. But I think you'll see better from Action. I don't think he liked the tongue tie at all last time. But the fact that he was sent off odds on for that Bet365 Classic trial last time, I think he's going to prove better than that. But this is just a fascinating race.
Yeah, and just what Ed was saying about it's a shame that Rahib isn't there, it really gets my goat with this horse because they came out of Sandown. Owen Burrows came out of Sandown and he said, I don't think the horse is potentially going to be mentally ready for a test like Epsom. He might go to the Dante, but we will see. And I then spoke to Ross Orion about the horse at Nottingham a week afterwards, and he was so waxing lyrical about him and said that he's rarely sat on a horse who's given him that kind of feel. Now, I get the fact that you might want to preserve this horse going forward, perhaps for next season, etc., but there's only one Derby. He's clearly a hugely talented 3-year-old. I don't know why they're not doing this because I thought
Is it the official line? He was stiff now.
Is that what it is? Because they were saying he might not be mentally ready, and I thought to myself, well,
but it's a physical ailment. Is the official line now, isn't it?
Yeah, which has now come out afterwards.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's just such a shame because he looks so exciting, doesn't he? But, yeah. I mean, I think he's probably the best of the 3-year-old bunch at the moment I've seen. But yeah.
That was really impressive. And if you get one of the horses that comes out of that Sandown trial win this, then we can get even more excited about him for an autumn campaign. We'll then move on to the Yorkshire Cup, which is a Group 2 ran over 1 mile and 6 on the Friday. Looking currently at anti-post prices, you've got Amalok heading the market at 5 to 4. Last year's King Edward, the 7th winner. Rahab was non-runner at Chester last week, next in at 7 to 2. Epic Poet was ahead second in this race last year, had the same. Dubai Prep is next in at 5 to 1. Al Nair at 6 to 1. Firtha at 7 to 1, and it's 10 to 1 bar in this. Ed, another Group 2.
Yeah, another Group 2. Amalok, the right favourite, most likely winner. Rinse and repeat that line. If the zany one in here, well, it's not actually that zany, but Hamish, he's 10. But loves it here, and I'm just looking at the weather. There's a little bit of rain back end of the week. That would help his claims no end. And it's just amazing, really. 10 years young, officially rated 117. I'm not going mad. If this were a handicap, he'd be giving weight to them all. He's officially the best horse in the race. I'll get a bit of a weather watch. If we had the ground cut up, we've got a bit of soft ground. I mean, I haven't got off the top of my head what his record is here, but it's pretty good. It might be 3 from 3 over C&D on the Knavesmire Hamish. Bit of soft ground. Again, 202-day break. Now, conversely, he's a horse who's got a very good record off a layoff. He'd often do that at Chester, wouldn't he? Or you come back off last season, he came back and won off a long layoff. So I can't imagine they're going to be preserving him for targets later in the season. He might just be absolutely ready to go for his life. So with an inverted commas rain watch, on rattling quick ground on the Knavesmire, I wouldn't be bowled over by his chances, but he's going to be my... I'd imagine he won't run if it's too quick, so it's one of those. But yeah, Hamish with a bit of rain is going to be the play for... I think Amalok, by the end of the season, will have gone past Hamish, definitely. But again, it's just how ready are these horses first time out?
Yeah, I'd definitely be waiting 24 hours to back Hamish, though, so you get your no run or no bet, even if he is declared. Amalok, I was really impressed with what he did at Royal Ascot in the King Edward last year, but I was slightly disappointed by his next 2 starts. I was looking to take him on at the price.
I am. Yeah, I'm looking to take it. First start back, for sure. Yeah. Do we think French Master's going to run? I take it from your smile that you think he's going to run.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Yeah. He's a big price, isn't he? I mean, he looks massive. What was he with Bet365 at the moment?
He's 25 to 1.
It's huge, yeah. I mean, just because you go back to that performance at Royal Ascot in the Cup of Horse off 100, and he was way too good. Beat Cabal Del Mar very easily. We know what that horse has done since. That was off 100. After that, he just wasn't putting it all in, was he? They put a visor on him in the Ebor at York. And
I mean, he was drawn widest of all.
He
was slowly away.
They put the visor on, he was slowly away, and then the jockey said that he stopped quickly. The trainer said that he was unsuited by racing handily from a wide draw, carrying top weight on this occasion.
Honestly, if you go back and watch that race, he fluffs the start, Rab Havlin's then panicked, the fact that he doesn't want to be last, so goes around the outside, like just completely write that run off.
Completely. And actually what was interesting as well is they gilded him before this season. Now, I thought his reappearance run behind Santorini Star was hugely promising, actually. It was over a mile 4. He wants a little bit further than that, but he probably needed it a touch. And I think Santorini Star is a lovely mare going forward. Ran a race, was a little bit outpaced, but needs a bit further, and I think he's got that under his belt now. Expect him to be a pretty big player in the staying division this season. I just think he represents huge value, doesn't he? 25 to 1 against some of these who, might just need the run. Epic Poet and Al Nair coming back from campaigns. They've already had a couple of runs in Meydan. They might just be a little bit burnt out. I just feel he's got a huge chance.
So you've ruined my best bet of the whole show. Was going to be French Master at 25 to 1 in the Yorkshire Cup. Now, it is a risky selection because he isn't jocked up, and normally James Doyle would be automatically put on these horses. It's only a fortnight since his reappearance run at Newmarket, but I was there on the Friday at the Jockey Club Stakes behind Santorini Star. He was a huge eye catcher for me. Beaten over that same course and distance on his reappearance last year in a handicap of 95. Then won at Goodwood, upped in trip to a mile and 6. Then won the Copper Horse handicap at Royal Ascot when fitted with blinkers on his next start. Gelded over the winter, made his reappearance over a distance that's too short without any headgear on. That run in the Ebor last year when sent off 11 to 2, completely be discounted, was slowly away, was trapped wide, and then had no chance from there. Now I've put a quarter of my stake on anti-post at 25 to 1. I'll top that up to a half stake if it's declared and is a similar sort of price. If headgear goes back on, the full stake can go on. French Master, I think, is a massive price at 25 to 1 in the Yorkshire Cup. So I'm infused by the fact that you do
I'm
agree.
delighted the man of your calibre agrees. So there you go.
Because this looks like a really open race for me. I think Amalok is there to be taken on at the prices. Rahab was primed for Chester. You've then got to delay for a week. Epic Poet is solid, but doesn't generally win his races.
Beatable for sure.
Yeah, Al Nair, Firth. I've got nothing to be worried about there. I thought French Master was a massive price at 25 to 1. So yeah, I'm in full agreement with you.
Excellent.
Lockinge Stakes is the Group 1 over a mile at Newbury. You've got Demisis currently heading the market for that race. Obviously was impressive in the Earl of Sefton on his reappearance. He's currently 5 to 2 favourite with Bet365. A notable speech, 2,000 guineas winner from 2 years ago, next in at 11 to 4. Zeus Olympios, 3 to 1, lost his unbeaten record in the Bet365 mile last time behind Opera Ballo, who's 10 to 1 for this. The Lion in Winter didn't win as a 3-year-old, but made a winning reappearance, is 8 to 1. More Thunder stepping back up in trip is 14 to 1. Sarlan 14 to 1, and it's 20 to 1 bar. Ed, I'll come for you for this Group 1.
Yeah, good question. Where we're going to go here. I was intrigued by More Thunder with the trip angle. That's definitely something that horse has had an asterisk there, shall we say, in terms of 6 furlong, 7 furlong assignments. I think a mile will really suit. Again, muddling affair here. Not much separated in terms of the market, is there, at the head of affairs? Not much separated on ratings. I think there's a £3 separating 4 different horses in here. So you're talking very fine margins. Zeus Olympios was just a little bit underwhelmed with on a comeback trail. Potentially, probably needed it. Damasus, on the other hand, as you say, looked pretty straight. Notable Speech is the one that's like clawing at me because you think there's a classic winner here. Come on, come and show your best. Very underwhelming run last time out, wasn't it? Although I did think would come on a bundle for it. I'm no paddock judge, but I'm told the horse was carrying plenty of condition and was clearly there with a lot to be worked on, shall we say. So just too many unknowns. More Thunder I do really like with the trip angle. I think this horse has been crying out for this, and I think this will really suit. Again, I was just looking through More Thunder's overall profile form in terms of underfoot conditions. Quick ground will really suit. Newbury is looking all right as things stand for the back end of the week. So again, a weather watch. I'm More Thunder with a run with quick ground. I do think 1 mile. The horse has only got £4 or £5 to find on rating. I would be shocked if the horse didn't improve a mile rather than regress for it. So it's going to be the with a run play.
Yeah, More Thunder's just got an amazing profile, isn't it? 1 over a mile and 2 when trained by Sir Michael Stout, dropped down to 6
That's what I'm
furlongs.
saying, but recently they've obviously had a difference of opinion, thought this horse is a kind of reinvented 6 furlong / niche trip horse. But
I mean, look at his current rating. He just could have proved so well handicapped that he could still win over those six furlong
he
trips.
could win 6 furlong. I just think a nice flat mile at Newbury, well, that's the logic anyway. I think that could really suit him. I'm going to take my chance.
Yeah, I can completely see that angle with more thunder. Tom, for you?
I think the favourite's got a very good chance. I'm sorry to say, it's quite boring, but he's
Stop apologising.
he's just so solid, isn't he? I mean, it was a £4 quicker time in the field, and on the same day that he won, it was his reappearance. He was so visually impressive. The only thing about him I'm not so sure about is a mile really what he wants? I was thinking of him coming into the season as more of a mile 2 horse, but I mean, he showed plenty of speed at Newmarket, so it's not a massive issue. Zeus Olympios, I've got a huge soft spot for, and I was a little disappointed he didn't get a little bit nearer to Opera Ball on his return, but he might well have needed it. However, he does put a little bit of a doubt in my mind about whether he's going to be really flying at the top table this season. Notable Speech would have a great chance if the yard was in better form. He might still win, who knows, but you'd need to see more from Charlie Appleby, I think, to be onside him. Agree with what Ted says about More Thunder. Definitely got a chance. I think the trip is interesting. The one that I think I'm going to have a bit on each way is Jonquil, actually.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to say Lion in Winter then, but go on, yeah.
No, I'm leaving that one well alone. I rate the 113. He's got £7 to find with the principals. Opera Ballet's got a bit more to find with. But I don't think he's going to run. Jonquil, I'm sure there's a massive run on this horse this season. I just feel like there is. I feel like he hasn't really quite put it there yet, but it's going to come. I really like what he did a couple of weeks ago at Ascot. It was a listed race, okay. It was a weaker contest than this, but he won it pretty easily. He does want rattling ground. Hopefully there'll be no rain at Newbury. And yeah, he's got that run under his belt. Last year, a couple of times I felt he should have finished closer, particularly at Keeneland in Grade 1 company. I think he was possibly burnt out by the time he went to Del Mar. Had a break, came back in February, ran okay in Abu Dhabi, but there's another break since then. And I thought it was a really nice return. You can see him really going well as a 4-year-old. I think he's going to improve this season. I felt last year he just wasn't quite there mentally, but I feel like on what I saw at Ascot last time he is, and hopefully he can take another step up. And I think he's a bit of a play. He's around about 20s.
20 to 1 with Bet365.
Yeah, so I mean, I could have egg on my face with a couple of big prices who might not run races or even run. But hopefully he goes there, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him this season. Yeah.
No, it looked as if he was going to be exciting last year and kind of lost his way slightly, didn't he? Anything else for you over the weekend or through the week at York? You've obviously got good handicaps through there, listed races and such like.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one on Wednesday. So in the Jorvik handicap, it's a really strong-looking race over a mile 4. But I do like the chance of Paddy the Squire for Ian Jardine. He's a handicapper I think he's still going to be on the up this season. At the end of last campaign, he really improved. He won at Thirsk in what was a decent enough race, but I mean, he should have won that, having been a 4-length second to Plage de Havre before that. But what he did at Hamilton after that really impressed me. He beat Defiance 2 lengths easily. And then he went to Haydock for the Old Borough Cup and ran a very, very good race and just, I think, got extended by that 1 mile 6 trip. Looked as though he might win with 2 furlongs to go, and I think he was just a little bit outpointed over the extra distance. So dropped back to 1.5 miles this time. He's got a nice reappearance record. He goes well fresh, which is a big plus in his tick in his box, for a plus in his camp. So yeah, I think this is going to be a big season for Paddy the Squire, and hopefully he can run a nice race. So he'd be my pick in the Jorvik. That's probably the only one of the handicaps that I'm really sweet on, I would say.
Okay, currently available at 8 to 1 with Bet365 at the time of recording. Keeps your best bet back. Ed,
keep the best bet back for
anything else.
Yeah, I've got a little bit off piste here. Going to Utoxeter. I've got my national hunt goggles on now. No, it's just a horse in the track. I have no idea if it runs, but Skyjack Hijack. Go back to the back end of 2024. No, not the Battle of Agincourt, but just 2024. This horse was set off favourite to win the Albert Bartlett trial at Cheltenham. And the winning sequence of 93 consecutive wins blew up big time, didn't it? And the horse kind of lost his way a little bit after that. Had a year on the sidelines. Now, horse has come back, and we've had 2 lacklustre spins over hurdles. The horse is in that lovely purgatory between horses gone at the game, or starting to look one of the best handicapped horses in training, for a horse, as I said, was being sent off to win a Grade 2 at Cheltenham, and he's here in May in Uttoxeter. He's entered up over hurdles again, but I noticed has got an entry in the novice chase. The mark is now 130, was miles higher than that at peak. Just one of those that could easily have just needed a couple of runs to come back to hand. It's also totally plausible that the horse has gone, but you're getting kind of, I'd imagine, inflated odds on the basis of that, because the horse has been pretty weak in the market on the comeback trail anyway. So just a horse in the notebook, Skyjack, Hijack. Be more interested in the chase debut. Horse has got a bit of physical stamp. I said the back glass is there for all to see. Off 130, you could absolutely laugh at them if 90% of the old fire still burns. So yeah, just one in the tracker for the weekend.
Yeah, that was the horse that won about 6 in a row.
Exactly.
So I'm intrigued at what stage of that winning sequence it went into your tracker.
No, it was the horse been off the track for a year, and I always just keep those ones there, wondering where they've gone to. And then had a setback. Connections are saying a few physical issues. Now back up and running again. I say 2 very underwhelming runs over hurdles. Now you do just start to worry whether the horse still wants to do it. But as I said, every horse has its level, and Uttoxeter in May off 130 is a world away from Cheltenham on a Saturday. So I'll be willing to roll the dice if the horse lines up.
There you go. You thought you were here for York and Newbury, but no, we're going to Uttoxeter. We'll be back shortly for our best bets of the meeting and weekend. So before we get into our best bets, just to let you know, the free-to-play 6 Horses Challenge. It's available every weekend with free spins on offer if you get 2 or 3 selections correct. Prize pools available for 5 or 4 correct predictions, as well as a jackpot for all 6. And terms and conditions apply. I'm going to kick us off this week with my best bet, because I've already given it away. It would be French Master at 25 to 1 in the Yorkshire Cup. Tom, for you, best bet, please.
I'll go with Jonquil in the Lockinge, just going to put it out there. Big price. I think he'll improve as a 4-year-old this season. Will like the ground. Conditions should suit. Has had the reappearance run. I think promised to be better than he was actually in the end last year. Mentally, I feel like he's progressed. He's the one for me.
Yeah, currently available at 20 to 1 with Bet365 for the Lockinge. Ed?
I'll go to the Hambleton. So I'm going to get back to York now. I don't believe the jump scene alone. I'm going for the top weight for an upset here. Point Linus. Deplorable run last time out, but that wouldn't put me off. I was looking through this horse's record. He's got a history of running a stinker and then bouncing back. I think he's a little bit of a law unto himself, so I wouldn't implicitly be totally worried about the fact he bombed out last time, because I was looking when he bolted up at Pontefract, he was tailed off the time before at Sandown. So he's not a horse I'd worry too much about that run being underwhelming last time out. But look, the strong point, the salient point is his course form. Runner-up, beaten in this narrowly in 2023, won this in 2024. Look, he's got a mark of 109 to overcome, which is, in terms of BHA figures, a tall order, but of course the distance form figures of 1, 2, 2, 1. You could set your clock by him here, and I cannot for the life of me think there would have been any other plan in the Ed Bethel team than to have this horse absolutely cherry ripe here now. And they went globetrotting, didn't they? I think it was Doha they went to last time out. By all accounts, the horse didn't handle the travel very well and everything. So, but as I said, he's a horse who's got a history of bouncing back from below par runs. So, Point Linus, top weight. He's never been out to 2 over C&D. He will have been trained for this forever. This is his Gold Cup. I think he's around 14, 16 to 1. Ground will be fine. It may just be the assessor comes and does him, if you like. But I'd be annoyed if he wasn't in there punching as they kind of hit the hard yards.
I bet when you put that down as your best bet, you didn't think you would be the shortest price out of the 3.
No, absolutely not, actually. I was amazed you got with Jonquil. I like that. That's ballsy. Yeah. I like it. I like it.
Plucky.
So there you go. Even put them in a treble, maybe a Trixie, and then we'll all be flying off on holiday if they all come in. Thank you very much for joining us on this week's episode of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Many thanks to both Tom and Ed for joining me on the show this week. Rishi and I will be back next week to have a look at the Irish Guineas and Temple Stakes at Haydock in the company of Sam Turner. So thank you very much for joining us this week.